Earlier today, members gathered outside the Capitol to mark 2 years since the January 6th insurrection. Only one Republican showed up there, Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. CNN's Evan Perez joins me now. Evan, prosecutors are still trying to bring rioters to justice. Dozens, if not hundreds of people could still face arrest stemming from the attack.
Yeah, Jake, the FBI says that they're going to keep at this until they find all these people. One of the big focuses, obviously, are the people who assaulted police officers. And here's some of the numbers just of the 2 years of this effort by the Justice Department. There are over 950 people who've been arrested. We know of 280 who've been charged with assault or resisting or impeding some of the officers there at the scene. 484 guilty pleas so far, and there's still about 40 defendants who've been found guilty in trials, including one today. We saw today one of the first rioters who kicked down a door and was one of the first to get into the Capitol. He was sentenced to 48 months in prison as a result of that.
And Evan, conspiracy charges are among the most serious. That's at the heart of the new trial against members of the Proud Boys, the far-right group. Where does that case stand at?
Well, it's in jury selection right now, and it's been interesting. Our team there, Hannah Rabinowitz and Holmes Librand, described a very contentious effort to seat a jury. We expect opening arguments to happen next week, but one of the things that they've struggled with is the fact that obviously the reputation of the Proud Boys in the city, getting people who don't have strong views about them, has been a bit of a challenge for prosecutors and for the defense. We expect, obviously, the Justice Department has been successful with the seditious conspiracy charges against members of the Oath Keepers, so they feel pretty good about this trial going in, Jake.
All right, Evan Perez, thanks so much. Let's bring in Michael Fanone now. He's a CNN law enforcement analyst and former D.C. police officer who almost died at the hands of that pro-Trump mob as he tried to defend the Capitol during the January 6th insurrection 2 years ago. He's also the author of the memoir, Hold the Line, The Insurrection and One Cop's Battle for America's Soul. And he is fresh off a visit to the White House, where he was one of only 14 people to receive one of the highest honors given to civilians, the Presidential Citizens Medal. First of all, congratulations on that. That's pretty cool. Your girls are here. Were they in the audience? Did they get to see the medal?
They did. Yes, they did. They got to meet the president.
They said, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and your people might not know this, but you voted for Trump. I mean, here you are with Joe Biden. Was that weird, otherworldly, or is this just all been part of this long, strange trip you've been on?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's part of that long, strange trip you talked about. I voted for Trump in 2016. I voted for Biden in 2020. I was grateful for the opportunity to be acknowledged, not so much for what I did on January 6th, but for everything that I've done and what so many other Americans that were recognized today have done since then.
You and your fellow officers were beaten. You had a heart attack. It was a horrible experience. There's been physical recovery and emotional recovery, I'm sure. How are you doing on this 2-year anniversary?
I mean, with regards to the injuries I sustained that day on January 6th, I feel I've made a full recovery.
The physical ones.
The physical ones. And, again, I had a 20-year career in law enforcement to kind of desensitize me to the violence that I experienced that day. So I believe that I've, come to terms with the trauma of January 6th, the day. What continues, or what I continue to struggle with, is everything that's happened since then and the issues that we continue to grapple with as a country regarding, the former president, the lies that he spewed, and the political violence that we've experienced as a result of them.
Yeah, and on that subject, while you were there at the White House being honored with Democrats and Republicans and independents by the president for standing up for democracy, for literally protecting democracy with your life. At the other side of other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, Republicans are working to elect a speaker. That speaker is likely going to be Kevin McCarthy, who you wrote in an opinion article on CNN.com. McCarthy told you that he couldn't control the fringe members of the party, and some people see what he's doing right now. Not certainly with all the people that have been against him, but like with some of them, as empowering them. Congressman Scott Perry, for example, is, he's neck deep in January 6th. He's Justice Department asked for his phone. He was he introduced Jeff Clark to the Trump administration to try to get him to be the head of the Justice Department, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I could go on. Is it weird to be honored for your role in saving democracy while a lot of the people who seem to be opponents of that democracy are having a hell of a time in Congress right now? A good time, I mean.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, nobody enjoys watching Kevin McCarthy squirm more than me. I'm not a fan. I don't think he possesses any leadership quality, let alone the quality to lead the House. That being said, I recognize the fact that while he struggles, it's empowering, the members of Congress, like you just described, either these insurrectionist sympathizing members or, members who may have contributed to the insurrection at the Capitol themselves. And so that's deeply concerning because they represent such a small segment of the Republican Party, and people that are sympathetic to January 6th represent such a small part of our country. But yet here they are being empowered and emboldened by a weak, feckless candidate for Speaker.
Yeah. You talk about condemning political violence not being a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. I completely agree. You say it's a moral issue. But it's weird because there was a House ceremony marking the 2-year anniversary of that horrific attack on the Capitol in which everybody's life was at stake. They were trying to hang Mike Pence. We saw images of Mitt Romney being escorted away by police. I think by Eugene Goodman, I'm not sure, et cetera, et cetera. Like Democrats' lives were at stake, Republicans' lives were at stake, and on and on. And yet only one Republican, if you look at the image right there, only one Republican member of Congress went to that event today, Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick, Republican from outside Philly in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. What do you make of that?
I mean, I'll say this. Over the past 2 years that I've been outspoken, or a year that I've been outspoken about January 6th, I have tried to walk a fine line when it comes to condemning Republicans. Nobody likes to be painted with a broad brush. Law enforcement certainly doesn't like that. And I don't believe that all Republicans are sympathetic to the MAGA agenda. That being said, it's very difficult to defend the Republican Party when only one of their members takes the time to show up and show support for law enforcement that was there defending them that day. It's disgraceful. It's an embarrassment for their party, and it's disgraceful behavior. And as somebody who has previously supported Republican candidates, it's shameful. But they seem to be a party at this point in time that is without shame.
All right. Mr. Fernand, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Nice to see your beautiful daughters over there. Congratulations on your award. And that must have been very exciting to be at the White House and see your dad get an award.